Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our English Learning Podcast. I'm Jimmy, and I'm so happy you're here today. If you want to speak English more naturally, more confidently, and more like a native speaker, you're in the right place. Today, Sarah and I are going to talk about common English phrases you'll use every day. These are expressions that real people use all the time, at work, at home, with friends, and in everyday situations. So grab your notebook or just listen closely. And remember, repetition is key. Oh, and before we jump in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel if you find this useful. That way, you'll never miss a lesson.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah and welcome. Whether you're at home, on your commute, or taking a walk, we're so glad you've joined us. Today's topic is super helpful because these phrases are not formal or complicated. They're the kind of phrases native speakers use without thinking, and once you learn them, you'll start noticing them everywhere. We'll explain them clearly, give you examples, and even talk about when and how to use them correctly. So, let's get into it with our first group of phrases, things you can say when you greet someone or check in with them casually.
Let's start with something super common. When you meet someone, what do you say besides hello or how are you? In everyday English, people often say things like, hey, what's up? Or how's it going? Now, these aren't questions you always have to answer seriously. They're more like friendly greetings. For example, if I see Sarah, I might say, hey, Sarah, what's up? And she could reply, not much, just working. It's very casual and friendly. You can also say, I'm good, thanks. And you? This is very typical in American and British conversations.
Exactly. And another great one is long time no see. You can use this when you haven't seen someone in a while. For example, hey, long time no see. How have you been? It sounds very natural and friendly. Or if you want to show interest in someone's life, you could say, what have you been up to? That means, what have you been doing lately? And again, the answer doesn't have to be detailed. A simple, oh, just the usual, or same old, is a perfect reply. And yes, same old is another common phrase that means nothing new is happening.
I love that one. It's funny how simple English becomes so rich when you use these little phrases. Another one I hear all the time is can't complain. Someone asks, how's everything going? And you reply, can't complain. It means things are okay, not bad, not perfect, but you're not unhappy. It's neutral, but positive. All of these are great for daily conversations, at work, at school, or even just chatting with neighbors or friends.
Let's move on to something else you'll use a lot. Agreeing and disagreeing politely. Now, in English, we don't always just say yes or no. There are many softer, more natural ways to show agreement. One of the most common is totally. For example, this weather is crazy. Totally. Or if someone says something you strongly agree with, you can say, I couldn't agree more. That means you fully agree 100%.
Yes, and if you agree a little, but not completely, you might say something like, yeah, I see your point, or that makes sense. These are good phrases when you want to be polite and respectful. They show that you are listening and you understand the other person. Even if you don't agree, you can still say, I see what you mean. And then you can share your opinion like, but I think it depends on the situation. These kinds of phrases help you have better conversations, especially in English-speaking countries where people often avoid being too direct.
Exactly. And when you disagree, it's important to do it politely. Instead of saying, you're wrong, which sounds a bit rude, you can say something like, I'm not so sure about that, or I see it differently. You can even add a phrase like, maybe it's just me, but that softens your opinion and shows respect. For example, maybe it's just me, but I think it's better to work in the morning than at night. It's still your opinion, but it's not aggressive. This is really helpful in group conversations or work meetings.
That's a great tip. And if you change your mind, you can say something like, you know what? You're right. It's a very humble and natural way to agree after hearing another opinion. All these little expressions help you sound more fluent, more mature, and more like a native speaker. Let's keep going. Next up, phrases you'll use when you need help.
We all need help sometimes. But how do we ask for it politely in English? A very useful phrase is, could you give me a hand? It means, can you help me? But it sounds nicer. For example, could you give me a hand with this box? You can also say, would you mind helping me? Or I could use some help. These are all soft, polite ways to ask without sounding too demanding.
And if someone asks you for help and you want to say yes, you can say something like, sure, no problem, or of course, happy to help. Another nice phrase is, let me see what I can do. That shows you're willing, even if you're not sure you can help. And if you can't help, you can say, I wish I could, but I'm really busy right now. Or, I'm not the best person for that, but maybe try asking Sarah. It's polite, clear, and helpful. And that's what we want to sound like in English.
Yes, it's not just about using the right grammar. It's about the tone, how you come across. If you want to keep things friendly, use these little phrases to show that you're open, polite, and willing. Even something like, I'll do my best, is a great way to show effort, even if you're not sure of the result. And don't forget about gratitude. If someone helps you, you can say, thanks a lot, or I really appreciate it, or even, that means a lot to me. These are simple but powerful ways to connect in English.
Making plans. Every day we talk about our schedules, meetups, and things we want to do. So you need phrases like, are you free tomorrow? Or do you want to grab a coffee sometime? These are natural ways to invite someone without sounding too formal. And if someone asks you, you can say, yeah, that sounds great, or sure, what time? These are the little back and forth expressions that make conversations feel real and easy.
Absolutely. And when you're not sure, you can say things like, let me check my schedule, or I'll get back to you. These are very natural and polite. If you want to cancel or change plans, you might say, something came up, can we reschedule? That phrase, something came up, is often used when plans change suddenly. And instead of saying no, which can feel a little cold, try saying, I don't think I can make it, or can we do another time? These kinds of phrases help you keep the conversation friendly, even when plans change.
Exactly. And if you're confirming a plan, you can say, so we're still on for 3 p.m., or just see you then, or looking forward to it. These phrases sound upbeat, positive, and clear. They also make your English sound more fluent and easygoing. These little bits of natural English go a long way.
So, as we were saying, it's amazing how just a few small phrases can change the way you sound in English. When you use these expressions naturally, people feel more comfortable talking to you. Now, let's move on to something we all experience, feelings and emotions. Talking about how you feel is a big part of real-life English. Whether you're tired, excited, annoyed, or just okay, you need the right words and tone to express it well. And sometimes the expressions we use aren't exactly what they mean literally. That's what makes learning them interesting.
Yes, and the nice thing is that these expressions are not difficult. For example, if you're tired, you could simply say, I'm exhausted. That's stronger than just saying, I'm tired. Or you could say, I'm beat, which is more casual and often used in conversation. If you're in a good mood, you could say, I'm feeling great today. Or if something made you happy, you could say, that made my day. It's a sweet phrase often used when something small brings you a lot of joy, like a kind message, a nice compliment, or good news from a friend.
And don't forget, we also use a lot of short emotional reactions in daily speech. For example, when you're surprised or impressed, you might say, no way, or you're kidding. And if something really touches you emotionally, you could say, that's so sweet. Let's say your friend brings you coffee when you're having a bad day. You'd probably say, oh, wow, that's so sweet of you. These are simple phrases, but they add a lot of warmth and personality to your English.
Another one I love is I'm not in the mood. You can use this when someone suggests something and you don't feel like doing it. For example, do you want to go out tonight? Meh, I'm not in the mood. It's very common and honest. And if you're annoyed, you might say, this is driving me crazy, or I can't deal with this right now. These are everyday ways to talk about stress or frustration. They help you express yourself in a way that people understand.
We all do in conversations, reacting to what other people say. When someone shares a story, a joke, or some news, how do you respond in a way that feels natural? One of the easiest ways is just to say, really? Or, wow, that's crazy. These little responses help keep the conversation flowing. Even just saying, oh no, when someone shares bad news, or that's awesome when it's something positive. These make you sound much more connected and present in the conversation.
Yes, and you can also show interest with phrases like, what happened next? Or you're joking. These show that you're listening and engaged. If someone tells you something shocking, you might say, are you serious? Or I can't believe that. These are all very natural ways to react in English. And sometimes just saying, that's so interesting, or I didn't know that, is enough to keep the conversation alive and show that you care.
I think one of my favorite responses is good for you. It's great when someone tells you about something they achieved. Maybe they passed an exam, got a promotion, or finished a project, and you can say, wow, good for you. It's positive, friendly, and encouraging. Another good one is that must have been tough, which you can say if someone tells you about a difficult experience. It shows empathy and understanding, and that's really important in English conversations.
And don't forget about, that's too bad, or I'm sorry to hear that. These are simple, polite ways to show sympathy when something goes wrong. For example, if someone says, I lost my job, you could respond with, oh no, I'm so sorry to hear that. These are very common in English and very human. They help you connect with people on a
Let's
real
change
level.
the setting now.
Not just
Imagine you're out shopping or eating at a restaurant. What are the common phrases you need to survive those everyday situations? Let's start with shopping. One of the most useful phrases is simply, I'm just looking, thanks. This is what you say when a shop assistant comes up to you and asks, can I help you? It's polite and it gives you space to browse. And if you do need help, you could say, do you have this in a different size? Or where can I find? These are really helpful when you're in a store.
Exactly. And if you want to ask for a price, you can say, how much is this? Or is this on sale? These are questions you'll hear and use all the time. And when you're ready to pay, you might hear, cash or card. Or they might say, would you like a bag? Just knowing how to respond with, card please, or yes, a bag would be great, can make everything feel easier. These are small but powerful phrases that will help you feel more confident when shopping in an English-speaking country.
Now let's talk about restaurants. When you sit down and get the menu, the waiter might say, can I get you something to drink? A simple response would be, just water for now, thanks. Or, I'll have an iced tea, please. When you're ready to order food, you can say, I'll have the pasta. Or, can I get the chicken sandwich? These are both common and polite. And don't forget to say, that's all, thank you, when you're done ordering.
Yes, and during the meal, if something is wrong, you can politely say things like, excuse me, I think there's a mistake with my order, or this isn't what I ordered. Always use a calm, respectful tone. That's important. And when you finish eating, you can ask, can we get the check, please? Or could you bring the bill? In the US, we usually say check, and in the UK, they say bill. It's the same thing. And when you leave, a simple, thank you, everything was great, goes a long way.
Let's not forget how we talk when we're texting or speaking on the phone, because these days we do that all the time. On the phone, when you answer, you can say, hello, this is Jimmy speaking, or just, hi, who's this, if it's casual. And when you're about to end a call, some great phrases are, thanks for calling, or talk to you soon. These sound polite and friendly.
And when it comes to texting, English has a lot of simple phrases that help you communicate fast and clearly. Things like sounds good, which means you agree with the plan, or let me know, which invites the other person to give you more information later. You might also say, I'll get back to you, or can we call you later? These are short, practical, and used every day. And if you're busy, just send a quick, sorry, I can't talk right now. That's perfectly okay and very common.
Yes, and don't forget about no worries. This is a very friendly phrase that means it's okay, or don't worry about it. For example, if someone says, sorry I'm late, you can say, no worries. It helps keep the conversation easy and stress-free. I think learning these little phone and text phrases is especially helpful because it makes your communication feel current and natural, like what people actually say and write every day.
And honestly, we could go on forever. There are so many small phrases that are easy to learn and useful every single day. What we've shared so far will already help you sound more fluent and natural. But we're not done yet. In part 3, we'll talk about even more helpful expressions, especially for giving opinions, making suggestions,
welcome
and
back.
ending
Let's
conversations.
dive right in.
politely.
In this final part, we're going to explore more everyday English expressions that will help you feel comfortable and confident in all kinds of conversations. We've already talked about greetings, making plans, shopping, phone calls, and more. Now it's time to cover some super useful areas, like giving opinions, making suggestions, and ending conversations naturally. These are the kinds of phrases that really show fluency, not because they're complex, but because native speakers use them constantly without thinking.
Exactly. Let's start with giving your opinion. Now, when you want to express your thoughts in English, it's not always about saying, I think, over and over again. That's a good start, but let's go a bit deeper. You can also say, in my opinion, or from my point of view. For example, in my opinion, learning English through podcasts is super effective. Another very natural one is to be honest. You might say, to be honest, I prefer small group conversations over big parties. It's personal and casual.
Yes, and another useful phrase is, if you ask me. It means you're giving your personal view even if no one directly asked. Like, if you ask me, that movie was way too long. And here's one I use all the time. I'd say. For example, I'd say she's doing a great job. These are smooth, natural ways to express what you think. And if you're not sure, or if you want to be more polite, you can soften your opinion by saying, it seems like, or it feels like. For instance, it seems like he's really trying. It's still an opinion, but a gentle one.
That's so true. And sometimes we want to say something without sounding too strong or too direct. So we say things like, I might be wrong, but, or maybe it's just me, but. These are great ways to introduce an idea while showing that you respect other views. For example, maybe it's just me, but I think this restaurant is a little overpriced. You're sharing your view without starting an argument. This is a key part of English-speaking culture.
Let's talk about
being
making
clear,
suggestions.
but not too
Another area where natural English makes a big difference. If you want to give advice or propose an idea, there are lots of soft and polite ways to do it. For example, you can say, how about? Or why don't we? Like, how about we meet after lunch? Or why don't we take the train instead? These are very common and friendly. They don't sound bossy or too direct.
Yes, and another good one is maybe we could, or we might want to consider. These are great when you're trying to be thoughtful or respectful, especially in group settings. For example, maybe we could start the meeting earlier tomorrow, or we might want to consider taking a break. These are really helpful in work or school environments where being polite matters. And if you want to make your suggestion feel even more friendly, just add a tag like, what do you think? At the end.
Exactly. Involving the other person makes it a real conversation, not a command. You can say, let's try the new place downtown. What do you think? It shows teamwork. And if someone gives you a suggestion and you like it, you can reply with phrases like, that sounds like a plan, or good idea. These show that you're open and positive. It keeps the mood light and easy. You don't always need perfect grammar, just the right tone and natural phrases.
And don't forget, if you're not sure about an idea, you can say, I'll think about it, or let me sleep on it. That second one is fun. It means, let me decide tomorrow. You can use it when you need time before making a decision. These little expressions are all part of sounding like someone who uses English every day.
Let's now move to something people often struggle with: how to end a conversation naturally. You've probably been in a situation where you weren't sure how to stop talking without sounding rude. In English, we often use soft closing phrases to exit a conversation politely. One of the easiest is, all right, I should get going. That's very common. You can also say, anyway, I don't want to keep you. These are friendly ways to say, let's end this conversation.
Another one is, it was great talking to you. It's perfect for friendly situations. You might say, well, it was great talking to you, but I have to run. That sounds kind and respectful. Or in a work situation, you can say something like, let's catch up later, or we'll talk soon. These kinds of expressions keep the conversation positive. You're not cutting someone off, you're just wrapping things up smoothly.
I also use talk to you later or take care all the time. They're light, friendly, and common in both spoken and written English. And if it's a formal situation, like ending an email or phone call, you could say, have a great day, or thanks for your time. These small phrases help you leave a good impression, which is super important whether you're at work, meeting new people, or just having a casual chat.
Exactly. And the key is to match your language to the tone of the situation. If you're talking to a close friend, you can be very casual. Catch you later, or gotta go. But if it's someone new or professional, be a bit more polite. It was lovely meeting you, or thanks again, I'll be in touch. It's all about sounding natural while still being respectful. And remember, your tone matters just
with
as
something
much
we
as your
all need sometimes, encouragement and support. In English, we often use short, comforting phrases to cheer someone up or give them confidence. One of the most common is, you got this. It's a great way to motivate someone. For example, if your friend is nervous before a test, you can say, don't worry, you got this.
Yes, and another great one is hang in there. It means don't give up or stay strong. If someone is going through a hard time, you might say, I know things are tough, but hang in there. It's simple, supportive, and very common. You can also say, I'm here for you, or let me know if you need anything. These are kind phrases that help build trust and friendship.
And let's not forget, take it easy. It's a nice way to say relax, especially if someone is feeling stressed. You might say, you've been working a lot lately. Take it easy this weekend. Another good one is no pressure. You can say this when you want someone to feel free to decide. For example, if you don't want to join, no pressure. It's very respectful and kind.
That's so true. And a final one that I use often is, it's going to be okay. Simple, calming, and strong. Sometimes people don't need advice. They just need to hear those words. These phrases help you connect, comfort, and support others, whether it's a friend, a coworker, or even someone you just met. That's what real English is all about.
Over the past 3
Communication
parts,
with-
we've shared dozens of common English phrases you'll actually use every single day. From greetings and small talk to opinions, suggestions, shopping, and encouragement. You now have a big toolbox of real, natural English to use with confidence. And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about being real, kind, and clear.
Yes, and the best way to remember these phrases is to practice them often. Try using just 1 or 2 today in your conversations. Maybe say you got this to a friend or sounds like a plan when you agree with something. The more you use these expressions, the more natural they'll feel. And if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment below. We read them all and we love hearing from you.
Also, let us know which phrase you like the most, or which one you plan to use today. And if there's a topic you want us to talk about in the next episode, we're always open to your suggestions. This podcast is here for you to help you grow and feel confident in real English.
Thanks for learning with us today. Keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, English is a journey. You're doing great. We'll see you in the next episode.